Welcome to the CompTIA Project Plus Prepcast by baremetalcyber.com. Global privacy laws regulate how personal data is collected, stored, processed, and shared. These laws differ between countries, states, and even industries, but their core aim is to protect individuals from unauthorized or inappropriate use of their personal information. For a project manager, compliance with these laws is not optional. It is a critical responsibility that impacts risk management, operational planning, and stakeholder trust. Failure to follow them can result in heavy financial penalties, regulatory sanctions, and lasting reputational harm for the organization. Some of the most significant privacy regulations have global reach. The General Data Protection Regulation governs personal data within the European Union and impacts any organization that processes such data, regardless of its location. The California Consumer Privacy Act affects companies that target or serve residents of California, imposing specific rights and obligations around personal data. Other major laws include Brazil's General Data Protection Law, Canada's Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, and South Africa's Protection of Personal Information Act. A project manager must identify which apply to their project and ensure compliance from the outset. Most privacy laws are built on core principles designed to safeguard individual rights. Consent requires that data subjects give clear, informed permission before their personal information is collected or processed. Minimization mandates that only the data needed for a stated, legitimate purpose is collected and stored. Access and correction rights guarantee that individuals can review their personal data and request corrections if it is inaccurate. Embedding these principles into project processes ensures compliance while supporting ethical data practices. The types of data protected under privacy laws can vary, but there are common categories. Personally identifiable information includes names, addresses, email addresses, identification numbers, and other details that can identify a person. Sensitive data covers more private categories such as racial or ethnic origin, health data, biometric information, and financial account details. A project manager must be aware of which categories the project handles, as sensitive data often comes with stricter regulatory requirements and higher penalties for violations. Many jurisdictions have restrictions on cross-border data transfers to ensure that personal data receives the same level of protection after it leaves the originating country or region. For example, under the General Data Protection Regulation, data can only be transferred outside the European Union if appropriate safeguards are in place, such as standard contractual clauses. A project involving global operations must plan for these restrictions early, choosing approved transfer mechanisms to avoid legal challenges or service disruptions. Vendor compliance is an essential part of meeting privacy regulations. Third-party tools, platforms, and service providers that process personal data on behalf of the project must follow the same legal obligations as the primary organization. Data processing agreements define these responsibilities, specifying security measures, breach reporting timelines, and data handling rules. The project manager should verify that vendors hold relevant certifications and regularly review their compliance posture to prevent third-party risks. Privacy laws also give individuals specific rights, often referred to as data subject rights. These may include the ability to request a copy of their personal data, demand corrections, or request full deletion under certain circumstances. Projects must have mechanisms to receive and fulfill these requests in a timely and compliant manner. The deadlines and formats for responding vary between laws, so the project manager must work with legal and compliance teams to ensure the process meets each jurisdiction's requirements. Integrating privacy by design into project planning means that privacy controls are built into systems, processes, and deliverables from the beginning rather than added as an afterthought. Techniques such as data minimization, pseudonymization, and encryption help protect personal data and reduce compliance risks. Conducting privacy impact assessments during early planning phases allows the project team to identify potential risks and address them before they become costly issues. Consent management is a recurring obligation under most privacy laws. Consent must be freely given, specific to the purpose, and revocable at any time by the user. Projects must allow individuals to opt out of data collection or certain uses of their data without penalty. In some cases, consent logs must be maintained to prove that consent was obtained properly. The project manager should ensure that consent mechanisms are transparent, easy to use, and compliant with all relevant regulations. Data breach notification laws exist in nearly all modern privacy frameworks. They require organizations to inform regulators, affected individuals, and sometimes the public within a specified time frame after a breach is discovered. The exact deadlines and content requirements vary by law, but they are often short, sometimes as little as 72 hours. The project manager must ensure that incident response and breach notification processes are part of the risk management plan and tested regularly. Children's data is subject to special protections under many privacy laws. For example, in the United States, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act restricts the collection of personal information from users under the age of 13. Other jurisdictions may have different age thresholds. Projects handling children's data may need age verification mechanisms, parental consent workflows, and additional safeguards to meet these heightened requirements. Privacy laws are enforced differently around the world, and penalties can vary widely. The General Data Protection Regulation allows fines of up to 4% of a company's global annual revenue, making non-compliance a serious business risk. In some countries, enforcement may be less aggressive but still carries reputational consequences. The project manager must understand both the letter of the law and the local enforcement environment in each region where the project operates. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. In the United States, privacy law is not handled at the federal level in a single comprehensive statute, but rather through a combination of sector-specific and state-level regulations. In addition to the California Consumer Privacy Act, several states have passed or are in the process of enacting their own laws, such as the Colorado Privacy Act and the Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act. Each state law introduces its own definitions of personal data, consent requirements, access rights, and opt-out mechanisms. For projects that operate across multiple states, this patchwork of rules demands careful planning to ensure that all applicable requirements are met without conflicting obligations. Industry-specific privacy regulations add another layer of complexity. In healthcare projects within the United States, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act governs the security and privacy of patient data. In financial services, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act and the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard set rules for protecting sensitive financial information and ensuring secure transaction processing. A project manager must align privacy controls not only with geographic regulations but also with the unique compliance requirements of the industry in which the project operates. Some privacy regulations require the appointment of a dedicated data protection officer to oversee privacy governance, ensure compliance, and act as the primary contact for regulators. Under the General Data Protection Regulation, certain organizations must have a data protection officer if they engage in large-scale processing of personal data or handle sensitive categories of information. In such cases, the project manager should coordinate closely with the data protection officer to align project-level processes with the organization's privacy strategy. Clear and transparent privacy policies are often a legal requirement. These public-facing notices explain what data is collected, how it is used, who it is shared with, and how individuals can exercise their rights. The project manager must ensure that any systems, websites, or services developed under the project reflect and comply with the organization's published privacy statements. Inconsistent practices between what is promised in a privacy policy and what is delivered in the product can lead to both legal liability and reputational harm. Some privacy laws regulate automated decision-making processes that rely on personal data, such as credit scoring, employment screening, or targeted advertising algorithms. Under these rules, individuals may have the right to an explanation of how the decision was made or to request human review of automated outcomes. The project manager must determine whether any project processes fall within the scope of these regulations and, if so, ensure that mechanisms exist for compliance with these user rights. Consent management platforms are widely used to collect, store, and manage user consent preferences in a structured and auditable way. They are particularly valuable for websites, mobile applications, and cloud-based platforms where users interact with services from multiple jurisdictions. By integrating a consent management platform into the project, the team can ensure that consent capture is compliant with various laws and that user preferences are consistently enforced across all systems. Retention and erasure requirements are a common feature of modern privacy laws. Data must not be stored longer than necessary for the purpose for which it was collected, and in many cases, individuals have the, quote, right to be forgotten. This means their personal data must be deleted entirely upon request, unless there is a legitimate legal or operational reason to retain it. A project manager must build retention schedules and erasure processes into the project plan, ensuring they are practical to execute and fully documented. Privacy audits and readiness assessments are essential for ensuring ongoing compliance. These reviews may examine data flows, access logs, consent records, and privacy impact assessments to verify that the project continues to meet applicable regulations. The project manager's role is to maintain clear, complete documentation so that the project is audit-ready at any point. This proactive preparation reduces the risk of last-minute disruptions or non-compliance findings. Training and awareness programs are a necessary complement to technical and procedural controls. Every member of the project team should understand the privacy obligations relevant to their work, from developers writing code that handles personal data to business analysts designing data collection forms. In long-running or complex projects, refresher training helps prevent policy drift and reinforces good practices. The project manager should schedule and track this training as part of overall compliance management. Third-party certifications and frameworks can provide a structured approach to privacy management. Standards such as ISO/IEC 27701 or the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants SOC2 Privacy Trust Services criteria offer detailed control requirements and a means of demonstrating accountability to regulators and clients. The project manager can use these frameworks to guide design decisions and to strengthen the organization's ability to prove compliance. If a project becomes the subject of a regulatory investigation, the project manager may be called upon to provide project plans, design documentation, system logs, and decision records. Cooperation with legal and compliance teams is critical during these situations. Well-maintained documentation can serve as evidence of due diligence, help explain decision-making processes, and support mitigation of potential penalties. Privacy regulation is an evolving field, with more jurisdictions introducing laws and expanding existing frameworks each year. Areas such as artificial intelligence and biometric data are attracting increased scrutiny, and future laws will likely impose stricter requirements for transparency and accountability. A project manager who stays informed about these trends can anticipate changes and adapt project processes early, reducing compliance risk and avoiding costly redesigns. Ultimately, a project manager's global privacy compliance responsibilities include understanding which laws apply, implementing controls to protect data subject rights, and ensuring that data transfer, consent, and retention rules are followed across borders. By proactively embedding privacy considerations into the project lifecycle, the project manager not only ensures regulatory compliance, but also builds trust with stakeholders and end users. This proactive stance enhances project credibility and contributes to long-term organizational success. Thank you for listening. Please follow baremetalcyber.com on social media and check out our books at cyberauthor.me.